It is Moana, a pretty decent mainline Disney movie that I'm surprised doesn't get talked about more often. Either way, I am more than ready to have it dissected as the first of its kind to be taken from this company for our Changed series. We've covered Disney projects like Pixar movies, but that doesn't really count. Plus, let's get into our first musical. Now, I could cover the scenes that have the most iconic songs, You're Welcome, Shiny, and all that jazz, but no. I want to hop on the scene that's not just good as a musical number, but a reprise of an earlier musical number. Gotta love a good reprise. So to me, the scene that changed Moana was the one when Moana's grandma showed up in the water. If you haven't seen this movie, probably a bit of a weird explanation, but to give a classic bout of context, Moana is out at sea with the mission to restore the heart of Tafiti. Here's the heart, and that's Tafiti. Along the way, she's joined by demigod Maui, whose powers surely will help this mission become a reality. However, by this point in the movie, after many miles traveled and relationships made, they've just been defeated by the shiny crab Tamatoa, who I've learned shockingly late is voiced by Jermaine Clement. Guy was in all sorts of movies and cartoons, but the thing I knew him from was he debuted at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival alongside Taika Waititi. I can't unhear his voice now. And this guy's set up to be in every Avatar sequel. Anyway, depressed and on that defeat, they pick themselves up for the fight with Tafiti, only to be destroyed again, cracking Maui's godly hook and splitting up on bad terms.
The ocean chose me!
It chose wrong.
And thus, Moana is left alone to have her sobbing princess moment. Except, she does have at least one companion, the anthropomorphic character that is the ocean itself. Honestly, my favorite character across the entire movie. It has so much personality despite literally not having a mouth to speak from. A masterclass in animation and sass.
Why did you bring me here?
And so, Moana questions her entire purpose. She is the classic chosen one protagonist, chosen by the ocean itself. So of course, she's at a point to question their choice, demonstrated amongst the dark gloom of the night sky. The camera keeping static in this mid-shot as the topic is so serious.
I'm not the right person.
And the water, also shown as a static head, just stood addressing her, still composed above Moana and the midline of the frame to showcase its authority and power. The water is still confident in itself, and it's still some divine thing to justify this angle.
You have to choose someone else.
And now we go over the shoulder of the ocean, if it had a shoulder. We too as an audience are now looking from a higher point down on Moana as she struggles with her worth in life. We're rooting for Moana in the same way the ocean is doing the same. We naturally, and now literally, side with the ocean's view. We believe in Moana where she does not.
Choose someone else. Please.
And now that previous mid-shot has zoomed closer as the intensity of Moana's doubts manifest. And we no longer are dealing with a disagreeing Moana, she's demanding instead, pleading. This changes the dynamic of the ocean and Moana's interactions in a single line. Now, to do what's best for Moana, to make her happier, we are to go against her as she requests. So we're back to the wide angle as the water stands contemplating for a moment. It reaches forward up to the heart of Tafiti and hesitates. You can read what it's thinking with nary a word spoken. The heart is sucked up and the blob disappears into the greater ocean, leaving Moana to wallow in the frame, abandoned by the mission. And for a moment, silence. Until eventually, the scene must go on. We're all rooting for Moana, and that status hasn't changed for the ocean either, as we see upon its return, and now it appears glowing in luminescence. It's no longer just a blob of water, but a spirit animal that swims beneath the surface and illuminates the night's darkness. The lighting circumstances entirely intentional to hit on the lowest lows and even higher highs for the spectacle of this. Only for the creature to evade from the frame beneath the boat to reveal into...
You're a long ways past the reef.
It's Grandma, or Gramma, the last character you would expect to hear back from since she had died earlier in the movie, but was very much the character who had the most trust in Moana's instincts and drive. And with the already godly and spiritual nature of the movie, it only rolls out to an even better reveal that she has now ascended into a kind of spirit realm to oversee her granddaughter's great journey. And presenting her for the first time in audio form only allows for everyone to remember her through her voice first, just to make that reveal all the more sweeter.
Grandma!
And so we get a hint of wholesome as Moana gets a hug from the person she needs it from most. Considering she was otherwise crying to herself in the darkness, this is an absolute best case turnaround, and only the start of Moana's rise from the bottom.
I couldn't do it.
It's not your fault.
Reassuring words, and again told with the camera angle in mind as we now look down on Moana from Gramma's now elevated position. She knows best after all.
If you are ready to go home, I will be with you.
And like a loving family member would do, she opens up for a safe exit plan for Moana as well. It's also grand to finally learn, at least partially, that Gramma has been alongside her this whole time as the ocean. I'm not sure if we're meant to see the ocean character as literally her. I mean, I guess you would be able to move more youthfully in the afterlife, but I don't really see Gramma as the type to slam this chicken away into the trapdoor like it does here. Anyway, with an exit plan opened up to her, what is Moana's response? She's not so into it, thinking to herself first before rejecting the newly lit plan unfolding in front of her, something instinctual.
Why do you hesitate?
I don't know.
Now with the spirit of Gramma Tala lingering above Moana's shoulder on the frame, an angel on her shoulder, overlooking her in the composition too. And so, with a dead end in the conversation, the spirit moves into action.
I know a girl from an island. She stands apart from the crowd.
Always a little bit weird when people break into song, but at least this is slightly more naturalistic. And all it's about is closing the gap between her and Moana now that she's turned to mope some more. Standing up to get close and holding her in her hands.
She makes her whole family proud.
A grounding statement that is often lost to people despairing in the moment. At least in Moana's case, she will always be a success, even in her darkest days, as her family is proud of her, which by now she has surely forgotten.
Sometimes the world seems against you.
As Gramma turns away for her next point, camera displaying them as small in this wider shot to emphasize the world surrounding them and their disadvantage against it all.
The journey may leave a scar.
A bit more literal now, as the spirit is redirecting her into action with the sails of her boat, capturing her face as a frame within a frame before pointing Moana up to the sky for this next point.
But scars can heal and reveal just where you are.
Up to the stars, where she can begin to follow for direction and a map placement. As she says, scars can heal as time will recover this concern, whilst lessons can be learned upon these losses. Come subscribe if you want to see more Disney scene breakdowns now that you've reached halfway in.
People you love will change you. The things you have learned will guide you.
All very true lessons to hear, but more interestingly is how the camera demonstrates this next shot as above the one before it, as if Moana is slowly rising back up literally, whilst we first see their mirrored reflection in the water and then back to normal on top, hand in hand. The words are reaching Moana and she is slowly recovering from her pit of despair.
And when that voice starts to whisper, Moana, you've come so far.
Of course, displayed in the widest shot we have seen yet. Not as a pessimistic view of the world all encapsulating, but one of optimism as it showcases just a piece of the great distance Moana has encountered and overcome, despite how insignificantly small she may seem. It's the internal voice that pushes her forwards rather than the doubtful one she's been struggling with lately. Now that Gramma Tala has implanted all these positive turnarounds into Moana, it's time to set off the spark for Moana to begin doing it herself.
Do you know who you are?
To which she sits on it for a moment, genuinely contemplating her self-identity amongst all that's come crashing down. She takes a moment to turn away, leaving Gramma to wait as she gracefully disappears out of frame.
And the girl who loves the sea, it calls me.
And as Moana gets some space away from her guiding spirit, we call back to the Moana back on the island, full of wonder and ambition, though it's the same Moana. Before digging into it further, descendant of our ancestors who now appear too in a spiritual form.
I've delivered us to where we are. I have journeyed farther.
Linking herself to her ancestors through the reality that she has lived like the lives of her ancestors. Our Moana has travelled across the seas up to this point, and so past chieftains can acknowledge her for that, further increasing morale for her as she recognises where she's come from, a long line of travellers, and her accolades so far have already made her one of them.
I am everything I've learned and more.
As the chieftain sets off his sails to continue on, so too does Moana with a new sense of self, coming right back to that eager self from the start of the movie, fully illuminated by the sheer scale of that sail. Now no longer with just the wind in her sails, but the essence of her lineage continuing alongside her, now revealed with all the more spiritual sailboats on their voyage.
And the call isn't out there at all, it's inside me.
And the call isn't out there at all, it's inside me. All this time, Moana has been expecting a real external calling out to her, and only now has come to the self-realization that the call is inside her all along. It's what drives her. From ancestors past to the blood that runs in her veins and her natural instinct for the sea, it's inside her, and she needs not validation from any external sources. And the drive of motion is shown through the army of sailboats driving along past her from the spirits of her ancestors.
It's like the tide, always falling and rising.
As Moana learns the ebbs and flows of the beat of her own drum and the connections to the watery world, she stands atop her severed ship with a newfound joy, able to pull out so we see at its widest angle not the darkness of the world covered, but the glow of her tribe traversing the sea in the spiritual realm, like they did in the past. She is one of them and never alone for it.
I will carry you here in my heart.
Okay, a little loud up close, but you get the message. Newly emboldened, she knows that with all the spirits of her ancestors alongside her, so too is Gramma, forever in her heart, and she's ready to take on the next steps, no longer needing guidance from the spirit, but ready to bounce off from this point, like a final goodbye.
I am Moana.
Finally answering that question Gramma asked all those beats ago, shouting out to the open air as the choir now comes in for the final realization of Moana and her newfound sense of self. As Moana dives down into the ocean in search of the very thing she gave up before, the glowing blue left on the surface as the green glow stands at the bottom of the ocean. The spirits have done their duty, and with their disappearance, Moana comes out of it a new person. Or perhaps, the same person she always was.
I am Moana of Motunui. I will sail across the sea and restore the hearts of Tafiti.
And from there, Moana is awakened to a new day with a self-fixed boat, ready to take on the next day and tackle that final boss fight once again. This time with a new approach all by herself, at least for a time. But that action scene's a whole other scene. And that was the scene that changed Moana, both as a movie and as a person. It literally changes Moana from this to that. But also, as a movie, it's what drives home the wholesome element of self-discovery, bringing it back to the themes of family and ancestry, bringing in a sense of self-confidence and satisfaction and success through just existing and making their past proud. Not to mention, it's just a beautifully presented scene. Surrounded by the darkness of night, yet illuminated with spirits and water is just mesmerizing to see. Who needs shiny crabs or the rock singing? Ha! Not me. But that's all I have to say for this project. Moana is a damn good movie with some nice doses of direction and of course, stellar songwriting. But perhaps you have another Disney movie in mind to cover next time? Let us know on our Discord server. Otherwise for now, my name's been Dazz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.